This meeting is being recorded.
That was weird.
Yeah, it was loud.
Not sure what that was. Okay. All right. So I do have a little something put together. And it's kind of a revisiting of epistemology of display, but actually I've been rethinking or thinking differently about it and thinking more in terms of epistemologies of display. Kind of making it more plural and more inclusive, and I'll maybe get more into that as we go. But this was actually an image. My Aaliyah she's doing an independent study with me, a Remida inspired independent study for 2 terms. And before that, she was in my TK environments class where she got kind of excited about designing with reuse materials. And this was one of the images. She was asking me, what should we use for our Instagram picture? We didn't end up going with this one, but it does have to do with epistemology of display, or how we think about our thinking pedagogically when it comes to displaying reuse materials in particular, in a way that honors them and children. And I love this kind of organizing it by color. That's one of my favorite ways to organize. So the plan is basically to do a land acknowledgement, and then some updates. I want to share a little bit of documentation that Rachel, who's on the Zoom tonight, our Masters of Early Childhood student who is doing her master's project on Remida inspired environments and how reuse materials enrich learning environments with children. She and I have been doing some documentation that we want to share with you, and then talk about this idea of epistemologies of display as related to Remedio in particular. Okay, so I've tweaked this a little bit, borrowing it from the Australians, and it was generated out of a preschool classroom. I know there's more than Mono and Yokuts tribes here, but as I'm learning this, I'm just going to keep it simple, all the different tribes. So you're welcome to join me if you want to. We raise our hand to the sky that covers the Mono and Yokuts land and waterways. We place our hand on the ground in the care of the Mono and Yokuts land and waterways. We place our hands on our hearts in the love of the Mono and Yokuts land and waterways. Okay, so updates. We have a new Instagram handle. We had to tweak it a little bit because I guess Fresno State uses Fresno State and not CSU Fresno as much. So it's Fresno State Remedio. And I've been starting to add, if you can follow us, it'd be great. It's starting to build up that following. And I've been adding a lot of new threads around just the history of Remedio in the last year, 13, 14 months. A lot of that was spent emptying out Remedio. But we've gotten some traction lately, and so I'm trying to make it visible and document it in the Instagram. And one thing that came up as I was thinking about who to follow in order to start to develop some connections and awareness of our project, I did a lot of Fresno State groups, but I also was doing a lot of Remida centers, and there's 17 of them worldwide, and they are notably all located in Europe. And rather close to Italy, if not in Italy. So when I was at Portland State, we were actually trying to become an official Remida rather than inventing Remida Portland project. And it turned out it was a lot of money, like a lot for us. It was like 20 grand, 30 grand or something like that. to become certified. And the certification was expensive because we were actually in communication with Remida, the group at the time who were coordinating it, and they would need to fly to Portland and bring all of their group. So you'd be paying for everyone who needed to come, and then they would decide whether or not we were legit. Somewhere in the process, we decided it just wasn't worth it, and weren't really sure, did a little bit of soul searching if we really felt like we needed to be legitimized. So, the reason I bring that up is because I've been following other Remidas. There's Remida Perth, there's one in Germany, a bunch in Italy. And I'm wondering if they're not going to recognize us if we don't have maybe the capital R and capital E. So I am thinking maybe to change. It looks a little awkward if you can see it here. But I do want them to recognize us as Remida inspired. So I'm thinking maybe we could have multiple, like two names, Remedio, all big case, and then Remedio. I don't know. Think about that. Let me know if you have any thoughts one way or the other. Um, and then I think at least one of them is following us back, which is kind of exciting. Um, the other update is this Fresno Live Again. Is anybody familiar with this organization by chance in Fresno? Okay, so I went to one of their events. They have a lot of indigenous connections, and I'm in I identify as uh Nahuatl, Mexica, and German, uh British, Irish. And so I was at one of these indigenous events locally where they were having the dignity and peace indigenous runners from the Americas come into Fresno, and they came to this organization. I'm looking around, I'm like, God, this looks like a school. Like, what is this? This is cool looking. We were all outside, and I ended up talking to the director, and he gave me like a little tour, and it's an after school program. It's been around I think 20 years, and they just fairly recently got a huge grant to get a building in East Fresno, I believe. And basically all the children that participate in families live in motels or are homeless. And it's absolutely wild. The guy that runs it was a gang member here locally. And it is a Christian organization. Um, and the parents are the teachers, and a lot of them are Latino. And so it's really got a strong um respect for the knowledge of the parents, many of whom are indigenous. Um, and so anyways, the more I found out about it, the more I liked it. And I have a meeting with them this Monday, and the independent student, Aaliyah, is going to come with me to observe. She also works in an after school program. But I'm going to talk to the project manager about the possibility of I just completed my service learning faculty learning community at Fresno State, and so I'm trying to turn my class, one of my classes, into a service learning class, and that would make it possible for the students to have up to 20 hours to work in Remedio. And in my vision at this point, and I welcome, lots of feedback or other ideas, is that eventually we would solicit materials from the community, and then store them in Remedio, and then refresh them, offer them to this after school program. And it's particularly, I think, significant because one thing I've found with reuse materials is that because they're discarded, because they're otherwise garbage, and because they're given a new life and a new identity and dignity and respect, I've found that they really, and my research has found that they really lend themselves to anti-bias, anti-racism studies, and that children with marginalized identities really appreciate them even more and identify with them. They're also transient. So there's just a lot of commonalities there, I think, with children who, by no choice of their own, are growing up in motels or homeless. So that's in the works and I'll keep you updated. Here's our Cositas Bonitas Beautiful Stuff project. And this is the book. It's, I don't know, are y'all familiar with this Beautiful Stuff book? Remember the first edition?
No, I don't think I've seen that one.
Liz, you're shaking your head. Are you familiar? Yeah, so I don't know if you're aware, but they have a second edition and there's a lot more children of color in it, which is wonderful. I don't know if the material in it has changed, but basically it's Reggio inspired, although it does have Gandini as co-author with I forget what Topal's first name is. And basically they offer us a composition of how to invite families and children to bring these found reuse materials and natural materials to school. And then how to work with children to organize the materials and display them, and then how to integrate them into project work. It's a great book. And so I introduced the concept and asked my ethnic studies class to go ahead and collect the materials, source the reuse materials from their homes and natural materials. And they finally, it was interesting because they were collecting them for weeks. And then when they found out that it was to make a portrait of themselves or each other, suddenly they were like, whoa, 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 we need more time. And they wanted to collect even more beautiful stuff and more natural materials. And so it went from toilet paper rolls and who knows what to like really, you'll see some of the materials. It went pretty good. So they brought in the materials, and that's when Rachel joined us for the first of two documentation sessions where I'll show you some images. So the protagonists here were the 22 undergraduate, there's one graduate curriculum and instruction student, but they're mostly liberal arts and ethnic studies, and they all want to become teachers, so they're all headed that way. Rachel, me, and the actual materials themselves.
So is this stuff that your students are doing now?
Yeah, this was 3 weeks ago, the first part of this. This actually is a more recent one because I can see because we organized it better. So here you see was the first time when it was just like they just put everything on the table. But the vibe in the room is the same one I always encounter with Remida inspired. And this is beautiful stuff. It's not Remida materials. They're not coming from businesses or local manufacturers. But they're, you know, uniquely different. I'm sorry if I'm if you're already aware of this, um but it's important to distinguish Remida materials come from manufacturers, but in my experience, local businesses are sometimes as good as it's going to get. And they're more anonymous, but you can get more scale. So like more of the discarded material, more of the same discarded material. Whereas beautiful stuff is material that it involves families, and the material comes from children's homes, so it has stories embedded in it that the children are aware of, that the children can tell, as opposed to the Remida materials that are more anonymous. And it's a, you know, anyone's guess maybe what even the material was, or where it came from, or what it was, or what so this was kind of the chaotic throwing it on the table. We did arrange the table so that they could kind of engage with each other and the materials. And that worked nicely. Rachel, feel free to pipe in. Um, any of your observations. But you could hear it, suddenly the whole vibe, it's late, these guys are exhausted, the credentials to the 7 to 10 p.m. class, it's like, oh my God, it's past my bedtime. And then the materials come out and everybody just like wakes up, they're talking, they're touching, they're laughing, oh, it's just so powerful.
All I would say is I agree with you on that, and that I've had some late night classes and they rarely have that upbeat vibe where everyone's talking and willing to engage and not just counting the clock down.
Mm-hmm. And they took great care with some of these materials. I mean, somebody went and collected these leaves. So here they are. They're starting to sit at their small inquiry group tables. And they all have kind of relationships because they've been in these small groups. And they're starting now to make representation of a pair. They choose a pair, and then the pair who they're going to represent chooses a skin tone. I had all these skin toned I didn't cut them into ovals because at some point I felt like there's like a story with every story. I'm not going to tell the story. I, I I didn't cut these into ovals, so they were squares. And I think that's a little bit more open-ended, arguably, than the ovals. But the ovals are nice. And I maybe eventually will make ovals, face ovals. But I get them in the skin toned ones that they sell. And those were purchased from Amazon. And so the person who's being represented chooses their skin tone, is one thing I learned along the way from Katie Kissinger, actually, an anti-bias Portland educator. And these are just some of the finished uh, representations they made of each other that I was really just struck by how incredibly beautiful they were, and how they were very concrete. They were really trying to represent each other, and they found that touching, is what they shared with us, that somebody trying to really match their or show their little earring was very touching to them. Now, the Starbucks on the bottom here was symbolic. This student shared about how she knew her pair loved to go get her coffee before class. So it got into a little bit of what they knew about each other relationally. And so very three-dimensional. The butterflies represented her coming from Mexico and living being Mexican American, and how that particular butterfly, what is it, the monarch, lives between the two. So we started to see some cultural identity embedded in these. Oh, here, somebody, I've been doing this for like 13 years. I've never seen this before. Somebody brought a jalapeno. I've never seen anybody bring food into a beautiful stuff. So that struck me as cultural as well, and pretty funny. Okay, so then it's late. I didn't have a plan for everybody to return the materials to their specific spot. There was no specific spot. It was just all on the table. So they throw them back in the bags. They help to kind of clean up that way. And then a few days later, Rachel and Aaliyah and I get together in Remedio, which is located in Huggins, and we start to try to sort through the material. This was actually somebody's quinceañera bag, a bag from their quinceañera. There's Aaliyah. Rachel, we start to notice there's shiny materials, so that becomes a category. What were all the categories? I'm trying to remember. Do you remember, Rachel? Like shiny, paper, natural materials,
Rachel, I think you're muted if you're saying something.
Oh, yeah, I was just agreeing. Yeah, I was saying that we put them according to like what they were, like you were saying, strings with strings, paper with paper, shiny things with shiny things.
Okay, so I'm processing the whole experience. Rachel's documenting, recording, taking photographs. We're kind of percolating, thinking about it. And I was thinking about a student who, when I was walking out, I said, gosh, I'm surprised. I wasn't sure if anybody was going to bring anything for this. And they brought so many materials. And she said, yeah, it was overwhelming. And I was like, there it is. There's that, Remida principle that I wasn't able to follow, which is to organize and display the materials in a beautiful way that honors the materials and their subjectivities, as well as students' appreciation for beauty and organization. So we had put materials into a shiny pile. And this was a study that I did with Will Parnell, who turned me on to Remida at Portland State and writes a lot about it. We went to Canada when I was a graduate student, and when we got there, they actually collected materials from their local reuse place, like Sharon was telling me Fresno used to have for teachers. And they had all the materials you'll see in a minute beautifully displayed. And we were able to invite them to at their group tables. Now, these were educators at a conference who didn't necessarily know each other. They were Canadian, Reggio inspired, but they were to it's the Shiny Fish Project. And basically we talked, Will talked a little bit about, GMO and salmon and kind of that environmental degradation and conflict. And then they made a representation of a fish together at their table. And I was very struck by how difficult it was for educators, who in this case didn't know each other very well, to collaborate, and how we do it all day long with children. But when it came down to it, what I could kind of observe over the course of the hour was that somebody invariably would take over and be like, okay, we're going to do this, because they'd get anxious. And then the rest, somebody would be quiet and just let them do whatever, and everything in between. But it inspired kind of this interest in how we as early childhood educators are always encouraging children to collaborate and to learn as group learners. And yet sometimes, the very things we're teaching are challenging for us. Hey, Lindsay, welcome.
Thank you. I teach tonight, but I think I've gotten to where we can get done by 7. So sorry about that.
Good. I'm glad you're here. Thank you. So I have this in my mind, and I'm thinking, let's reorganize. Let's take these materials we've categorized, and let's reintroduce them to our students in a beautiful way and see what happens, and invite them to do this Shiny Fish project. So this was last week. Rachel came to class again to document, and we did a mind map, a brainstorm of what do the students know about Delta smelt? And basically not a lot. And we had a couple fisher people, but not really big fisher people. So we were really constructing this knowledge together. I had them break up into their little groups. Each one watched a video on Delta smelt from all these different perspectives. Is anybody familiar with the Delta smelt situation? Or no? Okay.
I just know enough to be dangerous, Michelle, like,
What do you know?
like that it's like, a kind of fish that maybe has been put in places it's not supposed to be in. And I don't know enough. I know that it's a kind of fish, and that it lives in that area between saltwater and freshwater.
Mm-hmm.
But that's like all I know.
No, that's pretty good. That's pretty good. Rachel, what do you remember?
I remember that it's an endangered fish, that there was, I believe that it was endangered fish, and there's some tension over water management within the ecosystem where it's living.
Yeah, so the pumping of the water from the delta for the farms, the delta smelt are getting caught in the pumps, and the salmon can't get through. And Andrew, you've got to know something about the delta smelt. Come on now.
The only additional thing is, like, I think the Delta smelt's like supposed to be very small, but I don't know. Other than that, I don't know a lot of details other than what's been said already.
Yeah, they're super small, but they're called a oh gosh, what was the word for it? They're a key fish in the ecosystem because they feed so many bigger fish feed on them, and then come to find that all these bigger fish that feed on them, the catfish, the salmon, the bass, all these different local fish, a lot of communities of color uh subside on these fish. And so the loss of the Delta smelt, who are now, I think Lindsay, you might have been referring to this, actually now they're being, I do know a fish scientist that might be a guest speaker for you. Oh, that'd be incredible.
Sorry, can
Yeah.
can I ask a question?
Yeah.
The communities of color are reliant or rely on the smelt itself or on the fish that feed on it?
On the fish that feed on it.
Okay, because I was like, again, my mental image is like they're very tiny, so I'm like, oh,
Right.
melt.
Yeah, no, they are. They're
Okay,
super cute, small little silver things, but
yeah,
but
okay.
they a lot of African American communities, Eastern Asian and indigenous, Latino, actually really rely on this fish, for nutrition and to enrich their diets. And so there's an environmental justice issue related to the fact that they have greatly diminished. We have some of the facts here. There are cotton pumps. The pesticides from the agricultural runoff are harming them. They're sensitive, and so when they start to disappear, it's because the quality of the water is affected, and the chemicals and the pumps and all of it together. Um, the water from the Delta pumps water to 3 million acres of land, 80% of Central California. So it's a big deal. It's a main water source for 25 million people. There's a big fight over these little Delta smelt because they are protected. And so the fight's going to get louder. So you'll probably become more aware of it. But so we kind of started to co-construct some knowledge around this Delta smelt in the context of ethnic studies and Remida. And this, I don't have a picture of how we took a bunch of glass jars and actually some little, I started collecting some reuse throwaway cartons, and we actually organized the materials in as beautiful a way as possible before class. And so this was one group's representation of the Delta smelt with these same materials that they had brought a few weeks earlier. Here we actually have a student holding a keychain or something with a dollar bill to represent money and the role it plays in seeing water as a resource, as money. And then here's the actual Delta smelt. And here's a little Delta smelt caught in the pump, I think is how they described it. So again, the laughing, the conviviality, and when we went around and asked them, how did you choose the materials? How did it feel to make a representation together as a group collaboratively? How did it feel to approach the materials all organized and displayed more beautifully? And what did they say, Rachel, over and over again?
Um,
You don't have to say exactly, quote them, but
I'm sorry, I just blanked out.
oh, I put you on the spot. It was positive, wasn't it? They really
Yeah, yeah.
appreciated the materials being more organized.
Oh, it was, yeah, okay, now I remember, yes. Yeah.
So we'll be writing that up and kind of organizing it better to and maybe share it again. Okay, so and part of that is that Rachel's gonna help with her project, her master's project, to use the part of this story of this beautiful stuff with the students to take to local businesses and community-based organizations like Live Again and say, hey, this is kind of what our project looks like. These are kind of the materials that we like to work with. We'd really love to source some of these reuse materials from local businesses. And so we have one vintage shop, Baby O's, who's going to give us fabric remnants. I've got one salvage wood place I'm going to go hit up, but I need something tangible for them to look at to kind of see what we're talking about here. So that kind of brings us to the epistemologies of display. It's 7:34. Okay, so before we go through these images, I'm thinking about the different elements of thinking about our thinking about how we're going to display in Remedio. So what factors come into play when considering how to exhibit, store, and display our materials in our context with our identities as, you know, Fresno State, as Central Valley, and unique constraints? One thing I know for sure is we need moving carts. They're just something I think have to be purchased. I can get them at IKEA or probably Amazon, and it just makes it so much easier. Sharon, I'm sure you know, to cart the materials around rather than throw it all in a bag and have it be all a mess again. Moving carts are also a wonderful way to display materials. And I have some images of that. It needs to be clear so the children can see and adults can see what they're, you know, what's being exhibited. As opposed to put in a container that's, you know, plastic and up on a shelf. Accessible so that the children, I don't know if the children are going to be able to come into Remedio. I'm not sure yet if that's a reality for us. But so that adults and children can touch, feel, and, you know, engage that way with the materials. Beautiful, ideally, that might be a long-term goal. And organized. Okay, so here's some images I just want you to think with and see what you notice. And they're a mix from Remida, Italy, Inventing Remida, Portland, and Remedio, Fresno State Remedio. Okay, so here's a wheel, a moving cart. Again, it's accessible. It allows for engagement with other people, multiple people to engage with the materials and each other, and can go in the elevator and all of that good stuff. Pipe up if you have any thoughts on anything related to display or exhibiting, or because basically where I'm going with yeah.
You want the moving carts to be wooden, Michelle?
We need some movie rolling carts for Remedio so that we can wheel them into classrooms.
Right, but you want them to be wooden or just that things can be seen?
Yeah, just so they can be moved and seen.
Okay, I just wanted to know as I'm out like looking, right? So, okay.
Yeah. This is Inventing Remida, Portland. So here we see, if you recognize, there's a lot of these, see the plastic container there? It's like the one that you buy. It's got like the ham in it and the cheese or something like that. I don't know where we got those. I can't remember now, but I'm starting to think that at this stage of our development, our humble beginnings, I'm wondering about maybe making a call for Kremen or in our different locations to call for families and students to bring in this sort of thing that we could use, because we have quite a bit of shelving, but absolutely no containers.
Well, I like that idea because it's really easy to do and everybody can be part of that and it looks really beautiful. when you put all the things in it.
What is it, Sharon?
I like the idea of the plastic containers because
Yeah. Yeah.
anybody can bring them.
Yeah.
I,
Right?
I also really like this idea, perhaps with this photo, if you have a color photo as an illustration of what type of containers to bring, because it
Mm.
offers people an opportunity to reuse these types of containers as well, versus,
Mm.
throwing them away, which is great.
Well, I've noticed some of our food places on campus throw away a lot of plastic clear containers that we could use. Yeah, so yeah, that's a good idea, actually. This would be a great, yeah, that's a good idea. I like that. Thank
I
you.
really like the shelving, this kind of shelving too, because you can kind of see through it.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
it's lightweight, it's shiny.
Notice how some of the materials aren't in containers. That was inspired by Remida, Italy, and I'll show more images. I really love when they don't use containers. But obviously with some materials you absolutely have to. Yeah, these shelves are great.
They roll too.
Roll, which is when Will came back from Italy and was like, roll them all away from the wall. He was so inspired by people being able to communicate across them and with the materials. And then of course there is some storage, if you've got a top shelf and there is, especially in the Remedio size of the room that we have, there will need to be some storage. But see these plastic containers, those look like things that you could, and then we did go and buy wicker baskets. This is Inventing Remida Portland. We did buy wicker baskets from Goodwill.
I like that combination of the shiny and the plastic, cheap plastic things, and then these wooden baskets are. It just looks really nice to mix it up a little like that.
Yeah.
What about creating a list and putting it on the Instagram of things that people can, I mean, they have those link trees or, you click on if you'd like to help support. You could do an Amazon wish list on there, or you could even do some things we're looking for, some donations we're looking for, clear plastic containers, baskets to hold items, those kind of things. Just make a list.
We have a really great resource in the parents at the Huggins Center too. They're very, very willing to help. And we still have those big bins that I showed you. I don't even know what's all is in them that we collected one time from families.
Oh, that's right. Yeah, outside in the ceramic
room. Yeah.
Okay. What do you think about glass?
I think glass is okay. I mean, kids drop things or people drop things, but we have brooms.
The adults drop things a lot more than the kids do.
My husband's been eating these yogurt things that he goes crazy for from Grocery Outlet, and they're wonderful because when I wash them out, they're really thick glass, and you could put like beads or something really small in them. So I've been collecting those because he's been eating them like crazy.
I
Okay,
have a bunch of those from Wee Yogurt.
Oh, what's the material?
Glass. Those little glass containers that are thick. Yeah. I have a bunch. I'll bring them to you.
Wonderful. I seriously think this might be the way, is like grassroots. Okay, so look at this. This is okay.
Amazing. If kids came and saw that, they'd be like, huh.
Yeah.
Like what?
They want to just get their hands on it. So, I mean, one thing that I noticed in Italy was the way they set it up in their Remedio. They had like runners on the floor, and kids could bring whatever they wanted. They had I don't know, whatever they just could grab everything, but they had a little basket, put things in it, and then take it to the runners on the floor where they would sit and make their things. So it was sort of like they want to just grab it all, but then they don't know what to do with it. So you give them a little basket, say, put your favorite things in there, then come and sit down over here.
Now notice, we had sort of a similar thing at Inventing Remida Portland, it was almost like little the really thick cardboard, like almost like uh when you go to a cafeteria and you get that little thing that you carry your food on.
Trays, you mean?
They were trays. Yeah. Trays are really, really great. Notice how these are not in containers. So they're stacked, they're layered, they're standing.
They're organized. That's not overwhelming to look at that.
It's
Even
so
though there's a
beautiful.
lot of stuff, it's not overwhelming.
And it's a lot of one material. So this has a really, forgive me if I ever say anything, I'm not trying to be condescending. I just, I'll just say it in case somebody needs to hear it, but the scale of it is a really powerful environmental message. When we throw away one cap, no biggie, but look what happens if we throw away, if everybody collects it and brings it in, how many we, would have thrown away or whatever. So that whole concept. This is the good stuff from the manufacturers. This is the good stuff. With a small center, I don't know how realistic it is. I'm not really, I think small businesses is as good as we can fit. Okay, so now this is the idea. This is our light, Inventing Remida Portland. There was a fish tank with materials in it. And playing, it was the Remida materials plus light atelier. So it's
We have some fish tanks in the kiln room that nobody's using anymore.
Ooh, okay. I'll look into that. Or come see about
There's
that.
a pretty cool bird cage in there too.
Oh my gosh. Okay, so imagine like a bird cage with eventually some magic in there, like some lights around it or something. Ooh, that would be really fun. So this was a little bit later in the game when we were starting to get more beautiful, I'd say. More magical. Now, I can't get enough of this. This is the humble beginnings of Remida, Italy. I mean, look at this. This is not really that humble. I mean, look at, they got shopping carts and who knows what, but I mean, it's actually pretty nice. But everybody starts where we start. And they have wood. Again, they're not really using containers. And that might have to do with the discard, the Remida manufacturer discards require less baskets than beautiful stuff does. Remida Portland was three quarters beautiful stuff and a quarter Remida inspired from local businesses.
Well, I
So
don't know where the Trash for Teachers Club, I don't know where they got their stuff, but that was local. So they got lots of businesses to donate
oh,
stuff.
did they?
Yeah.
Oh,
They
interesting.
had these big they were like plastic tubes, but they were big, the diameter like maybe like 6 inches, and some of them were 10 inches, and they had a lot of those. So I picked up a lot of those one time and brought them back. But I mean, it was all local stuff. So
Liz, did you ever go there?
what?
Did Liz ever go there?
Not to the Fresno. I didn't know there was a Fresno one. I went to the one in San Francisco. Scraps, I think.
There isn't one anymore, but it was around like maybe about 7, 8 years ago.
Oh,
Wow.
that when
But I could research it and see what sorts of businesses, see if I can find some information about.
Oh my God, that would be so amazing to locate one of the people from that and get their list. That'd be amazing. Thank you, Sharon. That would be really great.
Or we could all just think of businesses around town that we could go to and
Yes.
with it.
Yes. Yeah. Um, okay, so these are, as you can see, some of them are the apple boxes, the gorgeous, beautiful. Here we have a white scheme. This is stuff that we could source. I don't know if they painted those cartons. Those are usually green, but anyways, this is what they had in Canada waiting for us. as part of getting organizing their material. Oh, this is what the educators grab their materials and put them in. Actually, that's right.
Mm.
This is Italy.
I'll send you some pictures of the storerooms at Boulder School, the Boulder School. They had some amazing stuff in their school.
Mm.
Ooh, I'll share those. I'll share those at the next meeting. I'd also like to show you some of the images from the Remida. Yeah, Andrew.
I'm sorry, I didn't mean to interject your question.
Oh no, go ahead.
I just noticed that the bottom bin looks like a piece of clothing, or it looks, I don't know, roughly looks like a Puma logo to me. Maybe I'm just making that up. But that could be just my eyes. But is is extra attire something that is like could be used by Remita? Because I know some like retail stores, especially like larger ones that have clothing or styles that are like out of season, they weren't able to sell them. They look to donate them, generally to places that clothe people. But if they're like, just if they are just kind of like older stuff, they may just be materials that could be reused, or I don't know. I don't know if the Remita
Hmm.
oh, sorry, it just notified me about something. I don't know if the Remita practices involve like using materials and breaking them down to like use them creatively, or if they have to be used as a whole.
Oh boy. That, yes, in Italy, they're pretty sophisticated because it's been around since 1997. And when I went to Remida San Borgio, they were doing workshops in their Remida where they would do something exactly like that. They would take fabric from a store like that was discard and then cut it up, let's just say, and make like those woven rugs out of it, something like that. Yeah, that's like next level. Um, but we did get donations from Nike in Portland, which is a big local manufacturer or whatever, and they gave us strips and strips and strips of this one material, and there was an incredible project that came out of that. The children carried the strip all the way through the whole building and connected the whole building. I don't know, it was something beautiful and wonderful. Textiles are a whole thing. I don't know if you know how incredibly damaging to the environment dyeing and making new clothes like we do is, but it's like I have a whole project around talking with the children about that and then integrating the textiles into a identity study.
We also
But I
did a thing one time. We were thinking about structures, so I got families donated PVC pipe, all the same size, and I bought some of the connector pieces, and we made these huge structures,
Mm.
PVC pipe. So we might be able to get someone to donate.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, if I could hit up families like at Clackamas at Clovis Lab School and Huggins, who knows who we've got who has a business or even a manufacturing or we had a parent that was a interior designer. She gave us a ton of tile.
Mhm.
Oh, we might have a couple boxes of tile at the center too.
That'd be nice. Tile is fun to work with. Here we have some colors, categorization by color. I love these bins on the bottom. These bins are so stinking expensive when you buy them new, and I don't want to buy new if we can avoid it, but these are great. It kind of also depends. I feel like we need the containers in order to solicit the materials, but we kind of need the materials to figure out what kind of containers we need, so it might be a mess for a minute before it comes together. And look at, they tied these textiles together into little knots. Ugh.
If we might be able to do something like have a donation day at Fresno State where you put the bins out, big bins like these, and with I don't know, like some materials in it so people could bring stuff and put it in the bins. We got a lot of stuff like that.
Yeah, oh, that'd be so beautiful to do like some big blown up images of like these types of materials, so or something that more realistic that people would know.
Or to introduce it to the general public in there,
Yeah.
or the people that go into the Kremen building, especially, with some
Yeah.
beautiful pictures and then some
Yeah.
bins where they could donate.
Yes.
You know, not only the Kremen building, but I think it might be worthwhile to coordinate like a campus-wide
Oh
campaign with
yeah.
drop-off points similar to
Oh.
like right now we're kind of saturated with toy and clothing drives around the holidays, of course. But
Mm.
we like developed like a kind of a timeline for the spring semester and maybe really forge some relationships perhaps with sustainability with ASI. They have a sustainability officer, I believe, and
Mm.
sustainability, both club and staff members in the fourth floor of the library. And
Mm.
I'm sure there might be some other academic programs. We could have a concerted effort to get the word out to the campus community and their networks to maybe have drop-off points that people can provide materials for this
Mm.
purpose.
Oh, I love that.
The most difficult thing I think, um, perhaps on your end, Dr. Dominguez, or us as a group would be to communicate sort of the quality and types of materials that are acceptable to donate, so that you don't get like literal, I would hate to get like literal trash that's not really usable in the sense of
Yep.
repurposing,
Yes.
Um,
Imagine. Yes.
But
Yes.
I think that'd be very doable. I think there's a lot of areas of campus that would be interested in supporting or at least hosting a drop-off point.
And
Um,
especially if they knew what the whole point of it is.
right, right.
Right. Okay, well, and this is where the service learning component's going to be huge, because then I can get students well versed in the concept, and then they can help with, going and communicating what the big idea is. Imagine, I told Rachel we have this joke in Remida, sorry, that's garbage. I mean, because it's a thing, like, is this garbage or is this reuse? It's like, well, if it's plastic and it's broken, sorry, that's garbage. But imagine if we had the whole campus collect one material that's commonly used and then partnered with the art department and did like an exhibit. Oh, you guys are getting me so excited. Okay, so this was Remida, Inventing Remida Portland project in the Helen Gordon Child Development Center, the whole top floor. We had like 6 rooms, 4 ateliers. This was material I solicited from a local plastics manufacturer. Some of our cardboard cutouts from identity studies. These were plastics that had a defect. Okay, so back to this question, and then some of our constraints. This is the lovely lighting in our Remedio. We don't have any open windows. So cool. I am so happy I could make it. Oh, me too, Lindsay. I'm so glad you're here. The Art Museum in Minneapolis has a whole fantastic exhibit on garbage that has been turned into beautiful things. Oh, wow. Okay. I'll have to look that up. If you can put something in the chat around that.
I'm gonna try to find it.
And then here's the space. Aaliyah took this gorgeous picture. It's an amazing space, lots of potential. We just have to maybe actually go meet together in the space one of these days. This is the beautiful stuff, cositas bonitas from this that we were categorizing. And this doesn't really show it, but we have all these shelves in the back, this little white thing of shelves, and then a whole nother thing of shelves, just like this one in the back on the other side. So that's what we're looking at for shelving. Oh, and another shelf right here in the middle of the room.
And then if you get the rolling carts, the wood ones were nice. They're probably very durable, but I really like those metal ones because you can see through them. So you can set them and roll them in and out, and
the metal shelves.
the ones that
Yeah.
yeah, the wire
The ones from, yeah. These were donated by, actually, these were in the dean's office, and when the new dean moved in, he didn't want them, so the departmental administrative assistants asked if we wanted them, which I still makes my heart warm. But yeah, so that's what we're working with. And I do have a projector and a big screen I'd like to move in there. Ooh, 7:59. To get some border crossings, and we can talk more about that down the road if you're not familiar with the border crossings Remida project of integrating or thinking of the languages of nature, the languages of reuse, and the languages of the digital, and inviting children to instigate conversations between them. So I would like to get some digital and some lights going on in there at some point. Well, there's been so many good ideas tonight. I don't want to keep you too long. Thank you for being a part of this. And does anybody have anything you want to share with the group before we go for the evening?
I just had a random thought. You were talking about lighting. Do you have any lamps? Is that the kind of lighting change you're talking about, or for the room?
Yeah, I mean, actually right now I'm thinking a lot about I'm working on a white paper around LGBTQ spaces that are neurodivergent friendly. And it has me really realizing that early childhood is really onto this with designing our environments for kids on the spectrum. Yes, some sort of alternative lighting. This is not what I was looking for. Oh, great. Yeah, something like that, Rachel.
Okay.
Something softer
I know
than
you
overhead.
I'll keep looking for that other one, Michelle. It'll take me a little bit of research.
Uh-oh. Did I freeze? You're all frozen.
Yeah, you froze.
You're frozen.
Yeah, you froze.
Uh-oh. Oh, thanks, Lindsay. Okay, I got that. All right, well, I'll send out.
Think we lost her, folks. I'm here. I'm here. Do you see me? Now we see you. I'm guessing you were just telling us that you're going to send out more invites and to have